Good evening, morning, and afternoon, freaks and geeks. This is Rouge, and welcome to another reviewing All Monsters. Now, when I did the Pokemon one, I was not thinking of doing it for other game franchises, but as I was finishing up, I was thinking of ideas for a Digimon one. And then when I uploaded the video, I got a lot of views on it. Now, I know it's 60 views, that's nothing. But keep in mind, I've been getting a consistent 5 view per video when I upload it. So, having it shooting up to 60 is huge for me. So, and I had fun putting it together. So, why not show love for some other franchises? So, today we're doing Summoner's War. Two things I want to mention, or two other things, before I get into it. Throughout, I do say it's written and reviewed. There isn't much writing here, but I'm referring to the reviewing, talking, because I'm writing it kind of as I go, but also as I design the PDF, but also writing as in designing the PDF. But I know if you load this up as a PDF and you don't have my voice to go through it, review means absolutely nothing because I don't have anything typed in the actual PDF. It's more of just a picture book than actually reading and whatnot. So, the other thing, throughout to this video, I'm going to be mentioning ideas that I've sent to Com2Us. By the way, very nifty naming there. Come to us, come to us. We've got games. Come and enjoy. Come and play. Come and give us $100 for a pack of pointless shit that you might get something good out of. So, I'm not claiming any ideas. I'm not saying it's I gave them this idea and they took it. It's just, it's kind of coincidental once you think about it. And yes, putting this together, it's around the Assassin's Creed collaboration. And if you're not aware of the Assassin's Creed collaboration, there isn't much time left in the event at the time of recording this. In fact, it's at the pretty much tail end of it. I got a pretty decent roster from it this time around. So anyway, without further ado, let's move on. So I decided that this time I was going to demonstrate the timeline. The actual space on the line means nothing because between the initial release and the first major monster edition, it was a couple months. So, and there's the most monsters introduced in the initial release, of course. And also you might notice that I have the second Awaken forms up here as well. I decided not to include those when they were released, but with their allotted monster, just because I'm it's a show off, so, or showcase or whatever. So in games like this where you use your... Oh, and also the Awakened monsters, the reason why they have one extra star is if you happen to summon an Awakened monster instead of the non-Awakened form, they come with, like, already, like, a grade higher. So... Oh yeah, and we installed new cameras, so my phone's going to go off a little bit more often than usual. I could turn the sound down, but then if I get a phone call while I'm recording, I'd miss the phone call, so I don't want to do that. So anyway, with the RNG summoning games, you tend to have weaker monsters to feed to the other ones without feeling like, oh man, I'm wasting an actual potential. But then again, once you like have amass a huge army of monsters, it's like the 2 and the 3 stars become fodder. As a joke someone made when I mentioned that I'm recording for YouTube, they were like, hello, good top of the morning to y'all, this is Jacksepticeye, and today we're going to be feeding trash monsters to even more trash monsters, because that's almost pretty much the gameplay. So, with having monsters that are silver stars that you can only summon with unknown scrolls, it just makes sense, because all you'd be doing is feeding them to like gain quick experience. You need like one star to evolve a max leveled 1 star to 2 star, and then 2 stars for a 2 star to go in 3, and so forth. So it's like with that system in place, you kind of need useless monsters. However, with that being said, and with the Second Awakening patches, I agree with a lot of the chat that some of these monsters need a First Awakening. The joke is the red slime. Although they kind of gave him a First Awakening when they did the King Slime battle. So, but I also would like to see the Battle Scorpion, Mimic, the Skeleton Warrior, which is going to come up in a bit, and I think the Ghost. I like to see them all having a First Awakening. So anyway, moving up, the only golden 1-star monster in existence is alright at the very beginning. Not much else to say about it. I'm not going to do this one by one just to let you know. Like, I don't like the Harpoos much. Also, the Imps aren't really that grand. But I can't wait for the Gerudo? The bird thing here. I can't wait for a Second Awakening of them. Mainly because the white one is actually useful. But it's not as good as like the other things, so I found the Howls to be useful very early on. Like, they're a decent healer, especially when some of their attacks is like heal, attack. It's like heal and remove, and then heal again. So I'm kind of glad they got a Second Awakening. They're not actually viable. Can't go wrong with fairies. Oh, and I would like to see in the 1050 chat on Global to stop knocking on people that want a Dark Yeti dungeon, because what if they give you a free one through the challenges, but what if they want to do another fusion? Because it isn't, the Yetis aren't good. I'm pretty sure they're on the radar for another, for a Second Awakening, but the ones that have two things of stars above them, it means some of them have a 2-star, some of them have a 3-star, or so forth and so on. But once I say that, I think I'm missing a 2-star that has a 3-star. I don't know which one. Is it the Yeti? Is it the light Yeti? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I just noticed a mistake I made. This is what I was thinking of. Because I think all the War Bears are 3-star. And I've included them here. So that's going to be a edit I need to do. Which will be an easy one. So, a lot of the 3-stars, I just find to be meh in design. Especially the Viking. It's I'm not fat shaming, because I'm fat, but they got this fat Viking sitting there, shirtless, and then for the Awaken, he has a little bit better weapons. He has more horns on his opera hat, and now his beard is all, I can't think of that term, braided. I think he needs a little bit of redesign. When you think about Vikings, you don't really think of fat warriors. And I don't know why I'm focusing on the fact that they're fat. Because I'd more expect the drunken fighter to be fat. Mainly because of that one god from Smite, now I think of it. But anyway, you see what and his Awakened form is, it's oh, I'm a little better equipped. If you look at the Inugami, its hair becomes Super Saiyan, and his claws become a little bit bigger. And then his Second Awaken, he becomes more ferocious, and he has little face mask thing going on, and just a lot more designs in it. Even with the Golem, even though the Golem was also just a little added onto it, it actually gave it more character to him. And I'm going to be as harsh on that as I am with the Amazon, but I want to talk about the High Elemental. Because I know when I started playing this, people were like, oh, look, they have nudity. It's no, they don't. They don't have nipples. And we all know it's the nipples that's evil, so it passes. But with the Second Awakening, first of all, I love the fact that the High Elemental got a Second Awakening. But then it's a real jump. It's a complete change. It's like a different monster pretty much. But the main thing that bugs me, that I've mentioned before in a lot of other things I'm critiquing design, is now that she's got a chair that she's sitting in, the chair is glued to her butt. It's like while you're fighting in like the dungeons and your people walk forward, she's sitting in the chair and she's all like sitting there like all sexually like dominating, and then she just like floats across in her chair. It's bizarre. I mean, if like she's just sitting there and then she's doing like her elemental attacks, then it makes sense. But then it's like you go to move and it's like Xavier, this bitch. Of all the monsters that I think needs a complete redesign from square one, like just get rid of the model, replace it with a completely new model, is the Bearman. Especially the unawakened form. Their model looks like taxidermy. And if you get real up close on the models, you could see like the seams of like the pelt when you go to like design the pelt and color it. It's a mess. Onto the Amazon. This is going to be a little bit of a touchy subject, but thing that bugs me the most with the Amazon is that they gave her a childlike look. And it's like, compare it to the Magical Archer, which both of them are almost the same thing. The Magical Archer looks more adult. And the Amazon is wearing less clothes than the Archer. She kind of looks like a preteen running around in a bathing suit with a gun, being like, "Oh, look, I just bought a Nerf Rebel. I'm just like the boys." Amazons are supposed to be strong warrior women. Like, they've really taken the... Now, I know there's a lot of people that's going to be like, "Oh, actually, this is what Amazons are," and go ahead, inform me, educate me. But they're supposed to be badass warriors, not lolly girls. So, I think they need a complete redesign as well. And I love the Second Awakening of the Grim Reaper. It's just perfect. And we're going to the 4 stars. By the way, the blue priestess should have been a 4-star. Just saying. But I've commented before, and I was going to add it in my intro, but I forgot. But I described Calm to us as a bunch of white males behind a desk that thinks that we're all horny male teenagers. The reason why I say this is because a lot of their women are scantily clad, or with big boobs, or with bouncy boobs. Well, with the priestess excluded and a few others. Like the Valkyrie. I'm surprised the Valkyrie's not like scantily clad, but still. But I mean, like, oh, and the period's also not. Well, her breasts are kind of bouncy. And she's in a unrealistic, like, skin tight suit. So anyway, but it's like they focus heavily on the women being scantily clad when they're scantily clad. And also, the whole design of, like, the character of Ellie, I don't know what's up with that. But, fun little story about Lucian. I didn't know I had him at one point. People were talking about how Lucian is overpowered for being a 4-star, and I was like, really, which one's Lucian? They're like, oh, it's the yellow Joker, and I was like, I have a couple of those. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm going to go back with the Second Awakens. A long time ago, I had written a huge document of ideas I had for Summoner's War, and I sent it to their frequently asked.
I'm at least pissing off the hackers now. I keep sending text messages to the phone numbers they typed Dar's account.
I wrote up a huge document and sent to their /suggestions. And this was before the Second Awakening and even Tartarus Labyrinth. I had pointed out that one of my favorite events from Dragon City, where it would be like a little map, and you would earn the currencies for the map through gameplay and whatnot, and then you would be able to move your piece across the map and earn rewards. So I suggested that they could do events like that. That would be a lot of fun. And then, a month or two later, they released the Labyrinth, which is almost similar. Reason why I say that I'm not claiming that they took my idea is because I know it takes a lot longer than just 2 months for them to run it through all their people being like, hey, is this a good idea? How should we do this? What should we do that would make it not just like the other event, but still enjoyable for the players? Then they'd have to test it and play test it and make models and whatnot and design the levels. It would take a lot more than 2 months. Unless you're Call of Duty. So, I'm not claiming that. Part of the document, I sent an idea for I didn't call it a Second Awakening, I called it Ascension. But the idea is each individual monster would have a trial that they would have to complete in order to gain a second form. And when I mean monster, I mean each individual one. Say Lucian here would have a different little trial to do than, say, his water brethren. I thought I remembered their names, but I didn't. So, and then after a while, they started introducing the Second Awakening, which was almost similar. Almost. Oh, and I did mention that they'd have to be max level 6-star in order to do the ascending. So, not saying they took my ideas, it's just apparently we had the same basic idea. That's all I'm saying. So, as for the other monster designs that are on the screen right now, some of the 4-stars I found to be dull. Like the Rakshasa? I can't remember how to pronounce it. But I find her to be dull and boring. She's just mostly attack. I haven't used much the Death Knights. But I think it was the light one. Is either that or is the light Anubis? No, Lich. The light Lich that, when he goes to half health, he puts up an invincible barrier and then just constantly drains the life out of the enemies. That's a bullshit move. But that's one of the monsters I can't wait to get. Same thing with Chimera. I have all 3 oracles. Like, I have the air, water, and fire one, which I found to be and I almost got them like straight in a row, not like completely in a row, but it's like I got the wind oracle. I'm like, oh, interesting. After a while, I got the blue one, and I was like, sweet, I got the 2 best oracles that I know of, because I don't know how the light or the dark one works. And then after a while, I got the fire one, and I was like, huh, interesting. So I like the bounty hunter. I've been using Roger a lot, and people are like, oh, he's the worst one. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't have the rapid firing. I admit that. But Roger has a pretty decent stripping ability. It hits pretty hard, and it can strip them of all their beneficial stats. So that's pretty good. Oh, and I knew the witch was going to get a second awakening, by the way. And I don't mind her sitting on her staff because it's a flying broom. Anyway, so I got like almost all the 3-star monsters that I care about with their max stats. So when the second awakening comes around, I can just throw them into the dungeon. And that's what I did with all my witches. They got like their maxed second awakening experience almost right away. Also the occult girl. Why does she have a teddy bear? And then like a little marionette attack. It's weird. How's that the occult? Am I missing something? I do like her umbrella aesthetic though. With doing my research, found out like there's like these 2 continents in like the story mode, and the second continent suddenly has new monsters in it that you cannot summon. So I figured that was like a separate update, and I was right. But also with that update came these 4 monsters. I can't wait to get Chow. I really want Chow. Or not Chow, but Ragdoll. Which one's Chow again? I have the Wind one. And he's pretty good. But I did not know that these monsters were not in the original release. I figured, at least the Skull Knight and the Dragon Warrior would be, but no. Which I find to be interesting. I've also have noticed a theme in a lot of their different updates. Like for the September of 2014, they've introduced different martial arts themed characters. And then December of 2014, they released some different imp type characters, and Hellgirl, which has a wicked scythe and some nice leggings. Anyway, horny male teenagers. Oh, those leggings. So, anyway. And then, pretty much at the end of that same month. Well, that wasn't really a theme. No, is it? Because there's 3 characters from different, like, I can't think of the term. No? I don't know. But anyway, for some reason I did all 4 of those as the wind because their outfits look more like, more natural. I don't know. And then, like, the first, I want to call it unique because you can only get the Fairy Queen as a light fairy. And now you can get her in the shop. And then after that, they also released the Cowgirl, which, by the way, it's I find that hilarious when people are like, I'm looking for a Cowgirl's secret dungeon. It's like, I'm looking for a reverse Cowgirl secret dungeon. And everybody's obsessed with the light Cowgirl. I don't know why. It's hard to put my finger on it. Horny male teenagers. I happen to like the Barbarians, and I think I got all 4. If I don't, I'm missing the light one. But it's like, this is what I would imagine a Viking to look like. And why do the Frost Queens look tired? I also find it interesting that the Ifrits have a special way that you have to summon them, because you can't get them in like the normal summoning scrolls. You have to actually purchase the different elements or fuse for the Dark Ifrit, which I kind of like the fusion. By the way, always go for those first. It doesn't like get the Dark Ifrit first. But then after him, it doesn't exactly matter which ones you go for. They all are pretty good. But the Dark Ifrit is a must-have. It'll work good in the story mode, the arena, the guild content, even going up the Tower of Ascension. At the beginning of each turn, he removes, I think it was like either up to 5 or up to 6 negative effects from your team and heals your team based on the number of effects he removes. He's pretty good, especially if you give him the Violent runes, which makes it so that he has a chance to take another turn. It's like, do that, it's like, oh, I'm all healed. At least with the negative stats. And I'm going to get some hate for this one. Charger shark doo 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 doo. Charger shark doo doo doo. Charger shark doo doo doo. That's the end of that bit. And also I noticed the June of 2015 had a water theme, and I approve of that. The Magical Archer. The best noob monster that you'll get. Because she will come in handy for almost everything you do up until like pretty much end game. I still use her for a couple things. Especially the Fire Hydra thing. The Fire Beast. Because it's like all of her attacks will eventually hit all the monsters. So, with like when they do like the demon summoning, she attacks and almost gets rid of all of them. It's perfect. And the rest of these guys I find to be boring as well. Some of the 4-star ones, like the Neostone Fighter and the Assassin. By the way, how do you spell assassin? You put 2 asses in. My, what nice asses they are.
Horny male teenagers.
I mean, continuing on. Also, September of 2015, they got the desert theme, which I find to be cool. It's more of Egyptian, actually. And then October of that year, they did a couple Halloween-themed characters, which I'm sad they don't do every year. That would be cool. Oh, and with Frankenstein's monster there, they call it Frankenstein. I understand. Not many people. It's like, what do you call him? Frankenstein's monster? That's quite a bit. So it's like it's Frankenstein or Frankie or Frankstein or Frankstein. I just came up with that. But not many people knows that the creature's name originally was Prometheus. As in, like, I think it's the first creation, I want to say. I can't remember. But also it's like there's not much you can do with that either. So I give people a pass when they call Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein. Although if you call Link Zelda again, there's going to be some major problems. You understand? Having a female protagonist is not a bad thing. Alright, let's continue. Not too much I can say about this screen. Besides the homunculus, I find it's really interesting because you get to craft it in the crafting building. I couldn't find it in my research, but I have a feeling that when they introduced the homunculus is when they introduced the crafting station. I do know, though, they introduced him when they introduced the Rift World, so there's that. I hate saying that, but, you know, it's there. Wait, is that seriously? Yeah, okay. That fits perfectly because the unicorn is my first new monster. So, everything before this seemed to be like a game staple for me. And then they introduced the unicorn, which had a transforming form, which I found to be interesting. Although this one is kind of irritating when you have it on auto battle, but then you put it on auto battle, put the phone down, and go away. So how else is it going to be like game breaking if it happens? Because you just put it on random anyway. When you're actually controlling them in battle, there's a huge strategy of like, what move do you use in what form? And that's what I found interesting about the unicorn. Also, when I first started, I wasn't like as into it as normal because, to be honest, I think I started before they introduced the Dice Magician and the Heart Magician, and I missed that update, I think. Something like that. Well, I know I started in 2016, and I'm pretty sure it was before these two. So anyway, I was not aware that the support homunculus was a new edition. I thought it was like released at the same time as the other. Now I think of it, could it have been before the homunculuses? And I just missed both of their introduction. Or was it just directly after the offensive homunculus? I'm not sure. All I know is that I didn't get far in the game till around this time, actually. Because when they introduced the Paladin is when I was becoming actually serious. And I was there like the first day it was released, unlike the Unicorn. But I was really into the twins. I mean, like, you know, you have no idea how into it I was. Oh, horny teenager. I'm not a horny teenager. Anyway. I do know that they had some monsters that attack, like, when they attacked, some other monsters attacked with them. But these two, if you have them both on your team, it's like you have the equivalent of, like, 2.5 monsters. Some people would argue 3. And they're also good to the point where if one of them dies, the other one isn't useless because they both have their own, like, strength. And they're really good. I'm only missing one, and that's the light, I want to say boomerang? But yeah, these guys are my, well, for the longest time, they were my favorite. And then they started introducing the monsters in, like, pairs. I mean, they've sort of done that before. But not as much. Yeah. They started doing it around here. Yeah. Anyway. With this, it was more of, like, a theme. Sort of. But, like, they came out with the Druid and the Dryads. Both being, like, forest-type warriors, spirits. And then they had Druid having an attack where he transformed into his beast, and then another one where it transforms back to his human. Which is interesting. Which I say is a little less, like, strategic as the Unicorn is, but my god, the beast is powerful. I liked the Winged Giant Warrior. With that whole thing where he, like, throws the big rock and then waits a couple turns. And the Lightning Emperor is the first one with charge stacks. And I think it's amazing. And I'm glad that they had the fire one being a fusion. Because now it's like, I want the other ones now. The Sniper and the Cannon Girl. I know a lot of people are like, ew, Cannon Girl. It's like, oh, rip, you got the wind one. I'm like, actually, the wind one's actually really good. I mean, my element is fire, but I would use the wind one over the fire one any day. And the snipers are kind of cool. The Dark Vampire. I also was a part of that, like that huge event. Like, I got on every day. I participated. I gave people the little code thing that helped them with their event. I was even like, hey, I have an extra space. Anybody want to jump in it? And he's another unique one where it's only the dark one. And then after, like, the event, you were able to get him through the special coin shop. And then comes the gargoyle and the demon. Now, here comes the next idea that I had submitted. First of all, I love gargoyles. That's not what I submitted, though. The idea I submitted was a different monster. Because I was like, man, too bad they don't have a voodoo doll character. That would be interesting. And they're all like, oh, they do. It's Ragdoll. I'm like, they have a Ragdoll monster? No, it's just the dark Dragon Knight. His name is Ragdoll. So there's your voodoo doll. Like, what? So, I came up with an idea of where the voodoo doll would have an attack. Actually, no, it wasn't an attack, it was an auto ability. Each one had a different auto ability where it had a reflect type of a thing. Like, one element would have damage reflection, another one would have... It would have been more of like a negative move mirror. Like, they cast a negative ability on your ragdoll or your voodoo doll, and it would do that to the enemy team as well. And it's just like stuff like that. With the gargoyles, they have an attack where they hit the person and then they turn to stone. And while they're stone, if they get attacked, they do something. Some of them I noticed it's like retaliate damage. Others is like shortening the enemy party's like attack bar if they're hit. And I find it to be interesting. Especially when I think they have added defense. I'm pretty sure they do in their awakened form. But I actually really, really like that design of that monster. Not because it's similar to my idea. I still say they should have a voodoo doll, though. I have a... like... an artist rendition of what it would look like. And I think it would just be a really awesome idea to do. Also, the demons are pretty freaking awesome. And then another, like, two-form monster, which I think is the better of the three, because she's riding on a beast, which the transmogrifications, said that wrong. She's riding a different beast each time, and you know what I mean by riding. I mean, she's like on it, and she's doing like a Navi thing with it. You know what I mean. Anyway, but if she dies, she revives full health as herself. It's like her mount dies first, and then she goes into battle, and she has a different like skill pool. Which, admittedly, the beast one is better, but it's like a guaranteed second life, and she comes back with full health, just like with the Fire Phoenix, and that's a really good strategy, and I love it. Not much I can say about these two. They're masters of like an art of some form, music, art, and then you got the first collaboration event, which was insanely fun. I loved it, and I love that it was Street Fighter, and I love how Ken and Ryu have their signature moves. Oh, they all do, actually. They all have their signature moves, and they all like this actually like say their attack like Hadouken while they're using it. Although if you got on like third speed in auto battling and the repeat battles, all you hear in the background is Hadouken, 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 Shuriken. And it's like, I know I messed that up. Shh, don't touch, don't mention it. It's hilarious. I love it. But M. Bison was the star in that one. I couldn't get myself an M. Bison. I don't even think I got Ryu. I got Ken, and I got 2 Chun-Lis and 2 Dalsims. And that was it. I was disappointed that Blanca was not there, though. I would like to have Blanca instead of Dalsim to be honest. Because it's like, can you imagine, like, he runs up and just electrocutes the entire team? That would have been cool. Anyway. I've started noticing a running theme. If you notice, it's like after they were done with the Street Fighter event, they released the Potion Master, the Blade Dancer, Striker, and the Slayer. And apparently, their attacks are similar. Except for I don't recall any of them doing something like the Potion Master. The Potion Master is freaking cool. Just to let you know. I think it was the water one that I like using more than the others. I can't remember. But anyway, and then after the Onis, I'm just going to call them that because I know one is like an actual like Oni type character and the other one's more of citation needed. But after them, they released the Shadow Claw in the store. But they didn't announce him. At least I didn't catch it. And this was the time where I was like playing constantly. And just suddenly I saw him in the store and I was like, wait, who's this fool? And then after a while I started seeing it's like so-and-so bought Shadow Claws. Like, what is this? And I went and checked in the Monster Journal and Shadow Claw only has a fire type. And I was confused about it. But now looking back, he replaces Ken. And if you try to use Ken and the Shadow Claw in the same battle, it says you can't use the same monster. But they're not. So are the other four considered to be the same monster as the others? That's just fascinating. I like that. That's like, oh, you missed the event? Well, here's some monsters anyway. The mage is my favorite monster now. Especially the water one. She's been a staple in a lot of my teams because she has a stack up to 3. And whenever she starts with 1. Whenever one of your team members kills another team member, she gains a stack. Whenever one of your team members dies, she uses a stack to revive them. So it's like, as long as you keep killing, you can keep reviving. And I love that. I've been using that a lot. And getting her has seriously increased my survival chances in like the arena and guild content. And then they released some cyber characters, and then the Totemist that you can get the win one in the Fusion Temple, and it's a good idea. It's like, get the Dark Ifrit and then get the Totemist. They're worth it. I have not seen the Weapon Master in like battle, but I like the word Smiths. I didn't really like the Hypnomuse or the Shadowcasters that much. They have a thing in the crafting building where you can sacrifice a 5-star to get like these crystal things, and then you can use the crystal things in the shop to get the all element legendary scroll that would summon a 4 to 5 monster that has a chance of being any of the 5 elements. So I used him and I got, I think it was like they win Shadowcaster. I got like a 4-star dupe monster and used that to up a skill. And I found that to be more useful than the Wind Shadow Master. The reason why I say that is because one of his attacks randomly lures the attack order of one of the enemies. It's like, ooh, random, ooh, look at that, ooh, haha, it's fun, but not useful at all. I've not seen Blade Angels either. But then the Cookie Run collab. I haven't played the app. I know it exists, and I know it's a popular game, and I know it is actually a good game. But I actually had fun with the Cookie Run collab. But Ginger there is not as good as Ken was. I don't know what was about it. But the other cookies are worth it. They were decent, like 4-star and 5-star monsters. Though I only got one 5-star monster, I can't remember which one it was. But then they were replaced with the Food Warriors. Which also was a surprise, like, wait, what? Where did these things come from? I haven't used them much. And I also haven't got the Pudding Princess or the Macron guard. I got one Cocoa Knight and a couple of the Tea Bunnies. But I haven't used them much. And then there's the Lollipop Warrior suddenly in the cash shop. He's only the Wind type, so I haven't really used him thoroughly to be like, yeah, this is pretty decent. But I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be in place of Ginger there. But also, he looks like the character on the Maple Story ad, where it's like he's sitting there licking the lollipop. They scroll over. Aww, hold up. I also try and desperately get a pup tier because it's kind of close to the voodoo doll that I mentioned earlier, but you know. Then currently the Assassin's Creed collaboration, and that's actually kind of amazing. So far I've gotten some of the 5 stars. And a lot of the 4 stars. But I'm really enjoying Altair? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to admit, I'm not that deep in the Assassin's Creed lore. It's a good game, and I had fun playing the first one. But I haven't played much of the other games. And I know, I might do it eventually. They're good games. Regardless of that one that's having all those funny bugs. But it's like modern gaming lately. You can't really condemn them much for having Game 1 bugs and glitches. Now, if they never fix them, then that's like questionable. And also if it breaks the game like Armada did. Anyway, but yeah, that brings up to like 159. What did I call it? Family? Like monster families? I wasn't going to, like, talk about every individual monster, because that video would be longer than my Pokemon one. and the Pokemon video was quite long. This took me one sitting to do, and now it's like I got like a couple things that I got to edit in, and it's not going to take me as long to edit this and render it and upload it. Pretty much my first the Pokemon video took like pretty much 4 months from conception, designing, graphic designing, and then recording, and then rendering. Took 2 whole days for the render. So yeah, no, I can totally see, like, in a year I would have a extra page to add on to this review, because this is a game that's still going, and I love it. I really love this game. And yes, I do know about the Chronicles, and if I recall correctly, there was like new monsters in that one. But was not too much of a fan of that. I mean, I loved the whole idea of the Chronicles being an MMO. But they got to the point, it's like they did the modern MMO where it holds your hand through the whole game. And it got to the point where I was like, the game made me feel like, well, why am I doing everything on my own? I can just auto quest it, auto attack it, auto everything it, and just let it run. And then I got bored because it wasn't keeping me engaged in. But whatever, that's the same thing that you do in the mobile game. Well, yeah. And by the way, I have Chronicles on the computer. The thing is, with this style of gaming, yeah, it's very grind heavy, and you can set the battles to be auto. But mostly the joy of the game comes from opening up the scrolls, which is why I'm glad that you can earn the scrolls in-game without giving them money. And when you do give them money, it's not a pay-to-win, because you still need strategy, you still need skill, and you still need luck. Even with like the ones where it's like you can buy the essences to awaken your monsters, it's like whoop-de-doo. By the time you go into PvP, you want your monsters to be fully leveled, fully awakened, full, like, starred, full evolved. You'd want runes on them that are decent. So it's not a pay to win, it's a pay to avoid the grind. And I know that's also an issue people have, but when it's a grinding against solo versus grinding against like other players, horny male teenagers, it's like who are you hurting? You're just rushing to get into the actual gameplay of it. So, but $100, come on, come to us. That's why people like to call you scam to us, or con to us. Anyway, that's my whole review. Like I said, in a year or two, I'm going to have like another page that I can do another review on. If YouTube is still around by then, which I'm pretty sure it will be. If I'm still around by then, which I'm pretty sure I will be. If my channel's still around by then. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you actually like to hear me ramble on about other people's work. Click on whichever thumb you think is appropriate for this video. And I guess the major question of the day is, which one is your favorite monster and why? And it could be a horny teenager reason, like, the Oracle has big boobs, I like her. I don't care. Because that's a thing. I mean, it's aesthetic. You might like the Barbarian because of those manly man chest. Until next time, stay white and nerdy. Special thanks goes to the Reddit user Theodulz for guiding me to websites to continue furthering my investigations. Special thanks to Summoner's War Fandom Wiki and Spockland.com for providing snapshots of Come To Us Summoner Wars updates. Special thanks to Come To Us for providing a game and continuously making it better. And of course to Channel 1050. Without you guys, grinding would not have been as amusing. Thank you, and until next time, stay white and nerdy. Charger shark doot doo 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 doo. Charger shark doot doo doo doo. Charger shark doot doo doo doo. Charger shark doot doo 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 doo. Charger shark doot doo doo doo. Charger shark doot doo doo doo.